some point this evening, Kim, Shelby County Board of Commissioners Chairman MICKELL, LOWERY, and other commissioners will be hosting a news conference shortly. You see all the microphones standing at attention right there, waiting for all of the leaders to come and speak and share. We have a team of reporters all over our community tonight, and we will be covering this and the whole Tyre Nichols story. We are covering every detail that we know about at the moment, and so we are looking forward to talking with our first reporter right now, right?
Yes, that's right. We're going to go to, we'll get back to that news conference momentarily, but we're getting more reaction today from the family of Tyre Nichols on the charges against the 5 former Memphis police officers who prosecutors believe responsible for Nichols' murder.
That's right. And so all 5 former officers involved in Tyre Nichols' tragic death face the same charges, among them second-degree murder. The family came out today and pointedly said they want peace. They don't want an uproar after the video is released. Action News 5's Parker King was there at that news conference with the family, and he joins us live now from downtown Memphis with takeaways from the family news conference. Parker?
And Joe, Kim, one of the big questions was going to be, were these charges enough for the family? For weeks now, we've been hearing them say justice for us is murder, one being first-degree murder charges. So what do they think about second-degree murder? Well, in today's press conference, we got that answer. Tyre Nichols' parents, that's Rodney and Rovon Wells, they said they're very pleased with the results. They said that their attorney sat down with them and laid the charges out before them, explaining them to the charges with what was compared in the video. They saw the video, I might add, that still has not been made public yet. The word they used was satisfied. Now, shortly following that, the father, Rodney, said what happens after the video released is important. As you mentioned, Joe, they want peace. They say violence is the last thing they want.
More importantly, we want peace. We do not want any type of uproar. We do not want any type of disturbance. We want peaceful protests. That's what the family wants. That's what the community wants.
And let's just remind folks that second-degree murder, that's not a cupcake charge we're talking about here. In Tennessee, those charges, if convicted, can equal in a sentence of 15 to 60 years. Now, we're going to come back to more of this from the press conference, but I do want to add before I wrap, Ben Crump says that the speed at which all of this was accomplished should be the blueprint for police brutality investigations in the future. Joe, Kim?
Indicted and bonded out all in 24 hours. Those 5 former Memphis police officers charged with murder in the death of Tyre Nichols are out on bond this afternoon.
And Action News 5's Sydney Hawkins shares the latest on that. All right, we're going to go to the news conference right now. As you saw there, Sheriff Floyd Bonner and other elected leaders are present, including DA MULROY, as our camera pans over as the sheriff and Mr. MULROY are having a sidebar at the moment, a private conversation, right, as MICKELL LOWERY, who's the chairman of the board of Shelby County Commissioners, is getting ready to make a statement, and surrounded by other members of the county commission. And so we're awaiting what the Commissioner Lowery, the chairman, is going to say.
This meeting was called just a short time ago, actually, to call for calm is basically what the news release said that they sent to our newsroom. And it was just decided of less than an hour ago, probably, that they were going to do this. So you can see they're all gathered now at the podium preparing to make statements today. It'll be interesting to see what they have to say. We haven't heard from very many of them at this point in time.
Well, we heard from the family today, and they called for peace. They called for calm, and I believe MICKELL LOWERY, the chairman of the Shelby.
My name is MICKELL LOWERY, I'm chairman of the Shelby County Commission, and obviously we have representatives here from the state legislature as well as from the DA's office and the sheriff's office, as well as the NAACP. First, as always, I want to say that our hearts go out to the family of Tyre Nichols. It's a trying time in our city, and we know the impending release of this video is going to elicit a lot of emotions from our citizens. Seeing the video firsthand, it's horrendous. And I understand that there are going to be some people who choose not to watch the video. And I understand that as well, because that's going to elicit some trauma that people may have. But what we're asking people to do, as Tyre's mother has asked us to do, is to let your voices be heard, but let your voices to be heard in a peaceful manner. Unfortunately, times like this, issues like these happen to bring upon change. And we know that additional conversations need to be happening about the culture that we have, not only with law enforcement, but as well as with our citizens in our city. Look forward to having those conversations, look forward to see what we can do firsthand, look forward to partnering with law enforcement to do just that. A lot of things that you may not have heard. I also appreciate the members of law enforcement that have reached out to me personally and said, this does not represent the culture of our city. And that they're going to stand arm in arm to make sure that everyone understands and knows that. So we're asking for that. We're asking for calm as this video is being released. We're asking for people to let your voices be heard. That's your right. That's your right to let your voices be heard. But let's be a model for the nation, because our eyes are upon Memphis today. So let us do that in a peaceful manner. I'd like to ask a member of the state legislature, the representative, I think London Lamar is here, to say a few words as well.
Thank you. Senator London Lamar, District 33. First and foremost, my heartfelt condolences go out to the Nichols family. I had the opportunity to see the mother speak Monday at her press conference, and it was no doubt heartbreaking to see a mother have to grieve in front of the whole world for the loss of her son in such an egregious manner. This community is hurting, and people are frustrated, and rightfully so. But everything I have seen so far is that the community is coming together. We are united because we never want this to happen again. So what we need to focus on is focus on healing. Healing starts with accountability for the officer who was involved in Tyre's death. That is moving forward, and the system is actually working. Even Ben Crump said this internal investigation should be a blueprint for the nation. But after these prosecutions take place, then we have to figure out how to prevent this from happening again. This starts with tearing down a culture of police brutality. I'm not suggesting that this is going to be easy, because if this was easy, every police department in the United States would have done it already. For instance, in the state legislature, we passed a law in 2019 that requires police officers to intervene when they witness another police officer using excessive force. But that didn't happen in this case. At least 4 officers ignored the laws already in place that they swore to uphold. So I'm looking at the future at this point, and I want to bring people together who are committed to changing the culture at our police departments. We need police officers who are ready to hold their colleagues accountable in every tense moment. We have to create a culture of accountability at our police department that starts with the officers themselves. This is going to be hard work, but necessary work. And if you see today, we have elected officials from every level of government here today standing together that we are committed to getting this right. There are still more good officers than bad. And for those who've been on the front line of holding us accountable to making sure we put laws in place that hold these officers accountable, we thank you for your work. And we at the state legislature will stand with those, our local elected officials, to make sure we get this right. And again, heartfelt condolences out to the Nichols family. And everyone who decides to come out tonight, we will appreciate peaceful protests. And for those of you from outside our city who are trying to plan to come in and support these efforts, we ask that you follow the lead of the folks here in Memphis who know their city the best if you want to help us in any effort. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sure.
First of all, excuse me, good afternoon, and thank you, Chairman and State Representative, for the opportunity to speak with you today. First of all, my heartfelt condolences and prayers goes to the Nichols family. What happened in our city over a week or so ago shouldn't have never happened. I'm here to tell you today that we don't train that way, but are we looking forward to conversations? Yes, we are. You know, I'll tell you a story, and you may have heard it before, that my father started off at the Memphis Police Department. My dad, who was 88 years old, called me and cried because he was one of the first African Americans. He was not the first, but one of the first African American police officers in this city. And it hurt him to his core, even now at 88 years old. I've worn this badge for 42 years. Been proud to wear this badge. And there are many, many, many good officers on the Memphis Police Department as well as the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. But we cannot condone this. We do not condone this type of action. It's not in our training. It's not at the Sheriff's Office. When you talk about accountability, of course, these officers should be prosecuted. And I will say thank you to the Memphis Police Department, our partners over there, for their swift action in firing these officers, and even DA MULROY with the swift charges that were brought forward. So we're looking forward to these conversations. And again, we will be there to protect the public, to serve and protect the public like we normally do. And we're looking forward to any conversation that anyone wants to have with the Sheriff's Office and moving forward. And we do look forward to moving forward. Again, my condolences again to the Nichols family, and may God bless them. Thank you.
Thank you all. We need to have a broader conversation about police reform at various law enforcement levels in Tennessee, in Shelby County, in Memphis, and throughout the country. But right now, I'm going to focus on what's happening tonight with the release of the video. And about that release of the video, I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it's important, as Chairman Lowery said, to take note of what the family of Tyre Nichols has said in calling for any demonstrations to be peaceful. And I'm cautiously optimistic because I believe in Memphis and I believe in Shelby County. I know that we've had a record of decades of peaceful protest, whether it was Darius Stewart or the George Floyd information, even when the bridge was taken over. We did it peacefully, and I believe that's what's going to happen tonight. If there's any demonstrations, that they will be peaceful demonstrations. And I will say this, if there are any people out there, whether local people or people coming in from another county, who are tempted to act otherwise, my message to them is this: if you do that, you're making it about you, not about Tyre Nichols or not about police reform. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Again, our hearts go out to MULROY and the family of Tyre Nichols. This is certainly put us in the national spotlight again, Representative. And it's just gut-wrenching to see this play out on news day in and day out. We don't want to be known as a city where we see these kinds of things happening. And yet here we are once again in the national spotlight for something that is egregious and something that has occurred and something that could have been prevented and should have been prevented if the officers involved followed their training and followed the procedures which were already on the books. And so Senator Lamar talked about the law that was passed, which is a duty to intervene. So this is a law that says if you see someone that is being excessive, that is acting out of character, that is violating the oath that they took, you should stop them. And so I was on a call earlier today. One may ask, was it the fact that the guys were doing what they did, or was it much worse that folks stood around, officers stood around and just allowed this brutalization to take place? It's just unfathomable that we are at a place where those who took that oath to serve and protect have now potentially murdered an innocent man, a man that was simply trying to make it home, a man that called out for his mother 3 times as he lost his life, A man that had his mother's name tattooed on his arm because he loved his mother so much. And that mother has to sit up and bear the brunt of us, bear the brunt of all of this, and she's not yet been able to grieve for her beloved son. So we grieve for Mama Rowe, we grieve for the family of Tyre Nichols, but we must vow to not let Tyre Nichols' death be in vain. We must vow, whether we are on the commission, whether we are on the city council, whether we are at the state, that Tyre Nichols' dying shall not be in vain. We have to make the change. We have to do it now. We have to follow this great model that we've seen. What are the things that we've seen here that's different from George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor? An indictment, a quick and swift termination, and transparency with the video release. These three factors, we hope, will tamper down any violent protests which may have been planned. And so we ask those citizens who are going out today, exercise your First Amendment right. The NAACP is based upon the ability of citizens to protest, to march, to fight for the rights that were guaranteed to us by the Constitution. But we also ask that you do it peacefully. It does not make sense to tear up this community, your community, and burn this community down in order to get a point across. Let's burn down the culture which allows this to happen. Let's tear down the laws which still are on the books but are not being followed. Let's give those laws more teeth. Let's tear up this thing where the badge would give one the ability to go in and do this without concern from who is on the other side. That's what we need to burn down and tear down, the policies and the culture, not the city and our communities. So on behalf of the NAACP, we stand with Chairman Lowery, we stand with the state leadership and the city leadership, we stand with the clergy and calling for justice for Tyre. It's real simple. We want justice for Tyre and we want it now. Thank you very much.
Pastor Ricky Floyd, Pursuit of God Transformation Center. The world is watching us right now. And in the midst of this tragedy, we have a magnificent opportunity to display love, to display unity. I want to thank the police department. They responded right and quickly. The district attorney office responded right and quickly. Now we as citizens of this city, we have an opportunity to respond right and quickly in peace and love. I don't think it's an accident. I've gotten calls from probably 15 states in the United States of America. The world is watching us. And I don't think it's an accident that this happened January the 7th through the 15th, which is the week that we're celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday. I think we, as Memphis, Tennessee, have an opportunity at this time to set a new precedence, a new protocol, a new image, and to redeem ourselves for what happened with Martin Luther King in this city by bringing peace, unity, new structures, systems, and order. And I just want to thank everybody for their commitment, love, and unity to maximize this opportunity to display that we're one in the city of Memphis. So condolences not only to the family who suffered this tragedy by the death of their son, but I want to let the officers, wives, mothers, children, brothers and sisters know that I'm equally praying for them as well.
Charlie Caswell, Commissioner, District 6. And I just end this and just say that just standing here a few months ago when the Ezekiel Kelly and the other incident what happened and the world was watching us, we knew that we had to do something to come together. And a lot of what this body and many of those individuals who are standing here, our pastors, our police, our politicians, our parents, principals, proprietors, have been working on a unified work to bring this community together. We would not stop that work. We know that there are good police that are still in our community, serving our community, and we want all of our community to know that we'll continue to stand with them. My prayers go out to the Nichols families and continue to pray for our community as a whole. I believe that Memphis is going to do what they've been doing, and that is the right thing to call for peace in our community, because as has been said by many, justice is being served, and we're in a new day. Thank you all for coming.
All right, thank you all. Again, purpose for us to just make sure that we are employed to our community to be peaceful tonight. listen, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to thank our law enforcement, but be angry at what happened. It's a terrible situation. It's a terrible video. And I understand those of the public who don't want it released at all because they're fearful what could happen tonight. But let's show them differently. The eyes are watching. Thank you all for being here. And now we'll pause for any questions.
Yeah, commissioners, but also sheriff, you obviously don't have direct oversight over, you don't have oversight over MPD. I'm wondering if either legislatively from the commission or in terms of policy from the sheriff, there will be anything you'll be doing going forward to ensure something like this never happens in the sheriff's office.
Yes, so actually we have the chair of the Law Enforcement Committee, Commissioner Sugarman, is here as well. Those will definitely be conversations we're going to have in our committee. We have to be proactive. Unfortunately, when tragedies happen like this, you have to implement policies and change in process procedures, and we'll be proactive about that.
Commissioner, the family of Tyre Nichols as well as Attorney Ben Crump, some of the protesters, they're calling for the Scorpion unit to be disbanded. Where does the commission stand? And will you all play any role?
We don't play any role in that. That's going to be up to the police department, obviously. The mayor and the city council will speak to that. We don't have that unit for the Shelby County Sheriff's Department, so we won't weigh in on that.
I think the question maybe for being more, but when it comes to the swift action, or basically action that was taken as far as the legality process of this, is this something that would be placed as a precedent for other cases like this one, even if it doesn't involve law enforcement?
Well, I believe that this particular case was extraordinary in terms of the public concern, the potential to undermine confidence in the fairness of the system, so therefore the need for transparency and quick transparency and real public safety concerns about what the public reaction would be if the video were actually released. So I think those extraordinary circumstances, justified expedited action. Now, obviously, we don't have the capacity to expedite every serious case. We have many serious cases. But when there are public safety concerns like this, then I think this demonstrates that both the TBI and the District Attorney's Office is able to move quickly when they need to. And particularly in those cases of officer-involved fatalities where you have those unique concerns about the need for transparency, restoring public confidence, public safety concerns, I think, as Ben Crump said today, that what the TBI did and what the DA's office did can serve as a blueprint for other jurisdictions around the country.
While you're up there, we know this is not the last of this case. There are 5 more that are arrested. Can you bring us up to speed about how this investigation is continuing with any other possible charges?
Well, I'm not sure what else I can say except that the investigation does in fact continue. It's an ongoing investigation, and everything that we did yesterday, or better put, nothing we did yesterday precludes the addition of other charges later on down the road. But as to the likelihood of that happening or the pace at which that will happen, that's the kind of thing that I really just can't talk about because it's an ongoing investigation and a pending prosecution.
But for the sake of transparency, can you please share with us how many more people are involved in this investigation?
Well, no, for the same reason I just articulated. It's the kind of thing that it would not be appropriate for me to talk about with regard to an ongoing investigation and a pending prosecution. But I will say this. In a few hours, you'll be able to watch for yourselves a video recording of almost everything relevant that happened, almost from beginning to end. And then you'll be able to judge for yourselves, at least a lot of the people that were in some way, shape, or form involved in the incident.
Has there been any extra talks within your department on taking a look at policies or anything extra that you guys might be trying to do as far as training in light of this?
Yes, absolutely. Excuse me. Anytime an incident like this happens, and then we have policy review. We're CALEA certified, and this is a national organization that comes in and look at our policies and procedures and make sure we're doing the best practices. But anytime something like this happens across the country, you go back and you look and make sure that we're doing what our policies and procedures are saying, and that we're doing for our officers the best that we can do. I just think that anytime something like this horrendous incident occur, it makes any law enforcement agency head go back and look and make sure.
Sheriff Bonner, I made a position today that the race protect and serve can you talk about how you're preparing for any potential protests or unrest tonight? How are you guys?
Excuse me. Yes, we are prepared. We have officers that are standing by, if you will. And just had a conversation with DA MULROY. Look, Keller, we don't want to arrest anyone tonight. And as all of these speakers have said, we hope that the protest, if there's a protest, is done peacefully. But we cannot allow people to get hurt, property to be destroyed, and all in the name of Tyre Nichols, whose parents have said they didn't want that. They wasn't expecting that. So I just ask the public to respect the parents. I mean, when you talk about if anyone is hurt more than anyone in this community, it's this young man's parents. And again, I offer them condolences, and we just need to, you know, the parents are even calling for peace. So I hope the public will listen. All of these elected officials that have been up at the mic this afternoon, we're all asking for Memphis to be a beacon, for Memphis to be the example. And we can do it. I have faith in this community. We can do it. So hopefully we'll have a peaceful night.
Sheriff, do you know any other agencies have been called in? Just want to let some of the rulers express the National Guard or state troopers have been called in.
Well, I know in talking with Matt Perry, the colonel at State Troopers, Tennessee Highway Patrol, I spoke to him about 9:30 this morning, and he was on his way downtown, down to Memphis from Nashville. He's going to be here. I think there are some extra troopers here around the county right now. I do not know about the National Guard. We did not call the National Guard.
I'm wondering for our two mayoral candidates, if you would address what you would do, if you would address and how you would address the Scorpion unit if elected as Memphis City Mayor.
Well, me personally, I don't think this is the appropriate time to talk about that. We should be focused on the job at hand tonight. I think there's plenty of time for us to talk about that in addressing the Scorpion unit. I work for the county, I'm the sheriff, and I just don't think that this is an appropriate time to talk about that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. I'll see you in a little. Are you coming to the?
Yes.
All right, you just seen a news conference with Chairman MICKELL Lowry of the Shelby County Commission, FLOYD Bonner, the Shelby County Sheriff, and the DA, Steve MULROY, all talking about how they're cautiously optimistic that after the video is released tonight from the Tyre Nichols encounter with Memphis police officers, who are now all 5 charged with second-degree murder, that they are cautiously optimistic. MULROY said that there will be peace tonight. Joining us now before the video is released is the leader of more than 900,000 people who live in Shelby County, Tennessee, Lee Harris, and he is there right now in studio with Kim Clark. Kim?
All right, thank you, Joe. It's right. Lee Harris is joining me now to talk about this whole issue here. And let me take you back first, though. When you first heard about this case, and particularly the video and how bad it may be, what were your thoughts? As a father, you have a young son.
I have a young son. I'm an African-American man who grew up in Memphis and Shelby County and have had my own encounters with police officers here in Memphis. And based on the descriptions I heard, I was horrified by the cruelty and the inhumanity. I haven't seen the video, and I will probably never watch the video, but I was horrified, and you know, I was troubled. I thought we had reached a moment in this country where we could get past some of these things. I thought the Black Lives Matter movement was transformative. It certainly had an effect on me, but you know, we've learned over the last few days that we haven't made it quite as far, unfortunately, as a lot of us thought and hoped we had made it.
Yeah. As a mayor, I know you don't have any direct oversight of the police department, but you have oversight of the sheriff's department, and you have an opinion about law enforcement in general. What do you think needs to happen for there to finally be regain trust, I guess is the best way to put it?
So I think that's exactly right, that we have got to make sure that we invest in the kind of reforms that are necessary. One
bad officer is a bad apple, but 5, if that is indeed the case, is a cancer. And with that level of inhumanity circulating in an organization requires a serious strategy of reform. I'm really thankful of a lot of the leaders we have in place at this time because I think that has made a difference and created some level of comfort.
Right.
And so while on the one hand we're all horrified and our hearts go out to the family because this is, wrenching, I'm encouraged at least a bit that the charges were delivered very swiftly and the charges are severe. And that severity means that there are other officers that are going to have to think twice before they act like what has been alleged or before they stand by and watch someone else do something like the allegations we've heard so far. This is something that's got to be repudiated by everyone, including all of us elected officials, but also the union. The police union, we are hopeful that they will also repudiate this kind of conduct, what we have seen, because we know the vast majority of officers are in that business because they are mission driven to service. But when you have a cancer like this, it has got to be excised. And we just want to make sure that everyone repudiates this type of conduct, because that's the only way we're going to turn a corner that we should have turned a long time ago at the time of the first Black Lives Matter movement.
Right. I'm just curious, do you plan to watch the video, or have you seen the video, or do you plan to watch it?
I haven't seen the video, and it's highly unlikely that I would watch an act of inhumanity like what that video represents. I also think that we have come to a place in this country where these kinds of videos sensationalize abuse of the vulnerable, and I am going to make a decision to avoid that. We got to watch our thoughts, which lead to our words, which leads to our action, which leads to our habits. And so it's highly unlikely I'll watch the video. I never watched the George Floyd video because, again, that is an act of inhumanity that if I can avoid it and don't have a reason to watch it, like investigators and, obviously many of you, then I want to avoid it. And so it's highly unlikely that I would watch a video like that.
Okay. Do you have any parting words for anyone who does see the video and their response to what they see?
Well, Memphis has a history of peaceful protests, so I don't have any words for Memphians along those lines. I have words of condolences and grief that I share with the family of Tyre Nichols. I have words to the justice system around the officers, if these allegations are true, that they be held accountable. And we can see that for one of the first times in the history of these videos. These facts are plain as the nose on my face. And we almost never see anyone held to account for their actions. And I'm hopeful that if these allegations are true, that happens this time. And again, my heart goes out to this family.
And with the speed that it happened
The speed that it would happen is extraordinary. And that's a precedent too. So we no longer have to take people seriously when they say they've got to investigate for months, when it is obvious to all exactly what has happened, and that these investigations should be wrapped, and the justice that we all deserve should be delivered.
All right. Mayor Harris, thank you so much for coming in and joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Stay with Action News 5 here on air and online as this story continues to develop. Memphis Police have Director C.J. Davis said the video will be released sometime this evening, and we will stay on that and let you know when that happens. Joe?
All right, ahead of a weekend of mourning in Memphis, we're speaking to the pastor of the church where the funeral will be held for Tyre Nichols next Wednesday. What Pastor J. Lawrence Turner has to say about the death investigation, the impact on Memphis, the video, and all of this coming up.